Kylian Mbappe and Vinicius, the duo we've been waiting for since Kylian Mbappe has been linked with our club. And when he signed for Real Madrid finally, we were all very excited to see how he was going to link up with Vinicius. And many people were saying Rodrigo was no longer going to be a guaranteed starter, but he proved to the world why he is one of the most elite forwards in Europe without a shadow of a doubt. But if you've been paying attention to the Real Madrid games, you'd notice a trend, which is when Vinicius and Mbappe play together, there seems to be a lack of synergy between them. Now, let's look at some of these examples. First, there's the game against Celta Vigo. Kylian Mbappe scores an absolute banger. Although Vinicius was on the pitch, notice how Mbappe wants the ball played to him quickly. The game against Sevilla, Rodrigo plays on the left and Mbappe hangs at the top of the box looking for Rodrigo to play the ball to him quickly. If there's one thing you have to say about Kylian Mbappe is his long-range shooting is spectacular. Now, even if you look at our last clash against Villarreal, Vinicius does come onto the pitch, but at that point, Mbappe had already scored 2 goals. And it just feels like whenever the both of them are on the pitch together at the same time, Kylian Mbappe, he gets the ball a little slower than he'd like. We saw this in the game against Atletico Madrid. In the dying minutes of the game, Kylian Mbappe asked Vinicius to square him the ball, but he took that extra touch, and that chance went away. But there have been some games where Vinicius has not been on the pitch, and Kylian still has not played well. If you take the game against Athletic Bilbao, that was one of Kylian Mbappe's worst games. But Kylian's absolute worst game came when Vinicius was not on the pitch, the game against Liverpool. But those 2 games were defining moments in Kylian Mbappe's time at Real Madrid, where he turned things around. But if you look at the overall story, since he's joined the club, you have to say that a lot of his better performances have come when Vinicius hasn't been there. But that is not the entire story. If we look at both legs against Manchester City, both Vinicius and Mbappe played very well. Of course, Vinicius was man of the match at the Etihad, and he assisted that winner for Bellingham. Let's call that an assist. And of course, Kylian Mbappe scores that hat-trick at the Bernabeu. And whether you want to attribute that hat-trick to Vinicius, feel free to do so. But they did play well together on the pitch at the same time. But having them both play well together on the pitch at the same time hasn't been very commonplace. If you look at the Copa del Rey match against Celta Vigo, both Vinicius and Mbappe scored. If you look at our game against Rayo Vallecano at the Bernabeu, the game we barely won right before we played Atletico, Mbappe assists Vinicius, and they both were on the scoreboard. But if you look at both games against Atleti and the Champions League, then you have to say to yourself, there seems to be a lack of chemistry between these two. And the overall team doesn't seem to play as well. Both guys are world-class players in their own right. The 2 best players in the world. But just because you have the 2 best players in the world doesn't mean they're going to play well together. And I don't care what anybody says. So far this season, Carlo Ancelotti hasn't found the balance. If there's one thing we can say is that our squad against Manchester City, with Dani Ceballos and Tchouaméni in the double pivot, that team looked a lot more balanced. But looking forward to the rest of the season, I do think that Carlo Ancelotti needs to find a solution for this. Because it seems like both guys seem to get in each other's way, and they want to occupy the same zones. For France, Kylian Mbappe plays his best football when he was playing either with Benzema, who is a more traditional 9, or Olivier Giroud, who is more of a center forward. And he would play off the left, off of a traditional number 9. Now he's being asked to play that 9 role, which he's adjusted to. You have to say that Kylian Mbappe playing at the 9 right now is really performing well. But he seems to lose a little bit of that spark when Vinicius is on the pitch with him. Because if you look at some of those goals that Mbappe was scoring, he doesn't like to attack the near post. He likes to hang at the top of the box. He likes link-up plays. He likes 1-2s. And that's why you saw Carlo Ancelotti try to shift Bellingham into more of a traditional number 9 when teams play in a deep block. And he attempted to do this in the second leg against Atleti when he switched the shape in the second half and he asked Jude Bellingham to play higher up the pitch. Because Carlo Ancelotti knows if he wants to get the best out of this Real Madrid team, you need Kylian Mbappe scoring goals. You need that guy who scored a hat-trick in the World Cup final. And the only way to unlock that potential is to have him play off of a center forward or a person who's playing as a center forward. And what we've learned about Vinicius the whole time that he's been at Real Madrid, destroying some of the best right backs in the world, is he's a high volume player. Eventually, Vinicius will get you. You need to feed him the ball. You need to give Vinicius the time and space to be creative to take on his right back. But Vini's not being afforded that creativity and time like he was because Kylian is in the team now. So now he's getting fed the ball less, which means less opportunities to take on his man, which means he has to be more efficient with less touches on the ball. And that adjustment has been hard for Vinicius because this is very similar to what's going on with him in Brazil. Everything would flow through Vinicius before Mbappe arrived. And now things are flowing through Rodrigo. They're flowing through Kylian Mbappe. And rightly so. Those are world-class players. And Carlo Ancelotti is going to need to find the balance if we're going to win the treble this season. Let me know if you guys agree. Thank you for watching. Hala Madrid.